I loved that woman. I loved that woman. I would have done anything. I loved that woman. I loved that woman. I loved. I would have loved anything. I loved that woman. I would have done anything. I loved that woman. I loved that woman. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. I would have done anything. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Welcome to the new episode. Okay, on with quick bit of business and then we'll get straight to the story. First of all, thank you for your many shouty man submissions. Thank you for those. If you want to get one to me, you're going to have to be quick because the deadline is tomorrow. So, thanks for those already. Also, if you're on the Facebook group or Twitter, you will see that I have put up. There's always lots of chat about what are, recommended podcasts to listen to, what should we be listening to, etc. Anyway, I put up a whole load of the ones that I think are worth your ears. So look out for those on the Facebook group. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of quick shout outs and then we're going to get to the story. Shout out to Amber Postema. Hope that's right. Amber, you put up something on the Facebook group and it made me blush. That is not an easy thing to do, Amber. So thank you for that. It was a very kind comment and I really appreciate it. Next, Becky Cummings. Now, Becky has a very big birthday coming up. Oh yes, Becky Cummings is going to be the big 30, the big 30. So Becky, for you, let me just get, oh no shit, oh, hang on, right, oh god, I nearly brought up the wrong video on my phone there. That would have been a shockerama for everyone. That would have been a right shock in your ears right now. This is for you, Becky. Happy birthday in Spanish for some reason. I don't know why it's Spanish, but it is. Woohoo, Becky, happy birthday. Okay, Valerie Brown. Hello, Val. Well, I don't know why I'm calling you Val. We're not. I don't know you, but I've decided to obviously just call you Val. Hello, Valerie Brown. Thank you for getting in touch. And finally, Kerry Stahl. Kerry, thank you. Kerry made a very kind contribution to the podcast, and I greatly appreciate it. There is one more actually, and it's not so much a shout out, it's a correction. Oh Lord, I really messed this up. So I said hello to Polly the poodle, but in another episode, but I got confused and I gave Polly to the wrong owner in that episode, which was just really stupid of me to do. So actually, Polly belongs to Patty Thomas. So my apologies, Patty. My apologies, Polly, and all other dogs who might have been offended by that mix-up. I mean, there's a lot going on at Extraordinary Stories Podcast headquarters. You know, I have a lot to deal with. Okay, enough of this nonsense. Are we ready? Let's get on with why we're all here and why you came to listen this story. Okay, let's go. Okay, where are we? We are in Texas. And it's 2012. Now, in this story, we have a few different players. And as we go through it, I will introduce you to each of them individually. Let's introduce the first character that we need to know. Let's introduce Dr. Joseph Sonnier. Now, I'm going to say it's Sonnier, so it's spelled Sonnier. In some shows that I listen to and in some interviews, people would say it as Sanjay. So I'm just going to refer to him as Dr. Joseph. Seems the easiest way to get around the mispronunciation of his surname. So Dr. Joseph, he was 54 years old. Now, he'd been married previously. He had married his high school sweetheart, Becky, when I think they were about 19 or 20. And they had lived together for 30 years. In that time, they had 2 children who were now, by 2012, both adults. This isn't really to do with the story that I'm going to tell you, but it's just worth knowing contextually. Dr. Joseph's wife, Becky, when she left him, she remarried a man, and this man suffered from some really serious mental health issues, and in a horrible murder-suicide had shot Becky dead. He shot her in the head before killing himself. So although they'd been separated for a good few years, for Dr. Joseph, this was still a massive blow. You know, the woman that he'd lived with for 30 years, the woman that he had had 2 sons with, was now dead, and in the most brutal of ways. Anyway, in his own life, he is single. He's single and ready to mingle. He's described as charming, handsome, well-educated, and well-travelled. So, that's him at age 54. What about his earlier life? Well, Dr. Joseph was born and grew up in Shreveport, where his family had moved to. He got a Bachelor of Science degree from the Louisiana State University, and then he received his medical degree from the Louisiana State University. Now, when it came to making choices, medicine-wise, about what route to take, he chose pathology. That's what he was really deeply interested in. And so he dedicated most of his working life really to the study of pathology and to overseeing departments around Texas in different hospitals and in different clinics and in different places. At age 54, when we meet him in the story, he is the chief resident of pathology at the Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas. So absolutely top of his field at this point. A man who really knows medicine, understands medicine perfectly. So as I said earlier, yes, his ex-wife had left him a few years before and was now tragically dead. But he's single. He has this incredible job. What he also has is looks and charm. Dr. Joseph lives a very charming life. It's said that the doctor was something of a ladies' man. And yeah, I can see that. He's got to be a catch. He's got to be. Come on. He's in his 50s. He's attractive. He's got 2 grown-up sons. He's a chief resident in his field. So yeah, the appeal is there. In one of the descriptions, he's referred to as a sex bomb. Sex bomb? Who uses the phrase sex bomb anymore? All it makes me think of is that terrible Tom Jones song. Sex bomb, you're a sex bomb. Baby, you can turn me on. You know that awful song? See, you know how I literally know that you were thinking at this point, oh yes, we've got this for Answer the Podcast and Barry hasn't started singing yet. We've gotten away with it. Nah, that's how I act. Art of surprise. You'll never know when I might start singing at any moment. So yes, okay, so he's living this life, the sex bomb. But it's worth remembering that, you know, with his ex-wife murdered, it's been tough on his sons. And he has, I mean, they're older, they're grown up now. But he really has to be a tower of strength for his 2 sons. And so for the doctor, it wasn't all dates with attractive women or, constant going out and doing great things. Quite a lot of the time it was actually just dealing with the grief that surrounded his 2 children. I think he was a good man. He sort of stepped up when his wife was horrifically killed. He stepped up and he paid for a funeral. He took control of all of the finances and made sure that everything was going in the right direction. And he also continued to just raise his own 2 sons on his own. Dallas and Justin are the name of his children. Now, I'm assuming, I haven't read this anywhere, I'm assuming that Dallas comes from where that child might have been conceived. You know that thing that people do when they sometimes name a child after the place that they've been conceived? A bit like Victoria Beckham and David Beckham, they called their son Brooklyn after where he had been conceived. I mean, I don't know, maybe you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, I was named where I was conceived. There's a town in Wales called Barry where I could technically have been conceived, but that's not actually the truth. I don't know where I was conceived, and quite frankly, I think I'm okay with it. I think I'm alright not knowing that fact. Dr. Joseph was worth around $12 million. And it was a fortune that had been built through being an absolutely excellent pathologist and an absolutely excellent boss, having worked really hard. And he'd put his money into property, so that's why he was worth, a good amount of money. He gets described as funny, charming, handsome and devilish. I mean, I could be reading a description of myself, for fuck's sake. I'm joking. So, the doctor, he liked to go to ballroom dance classes. He would take himself down to the local ballroom dance classes, and for him, this was a really nice way to meet with different people. to meet women that he might want to go on and date. And it's during one of these ballroom dance classes that he meets a woman named Rochelle. So he was 54 at the time, and she was 47, and she was divorced. And so during one of these ballroom dance evenings, they dance together, they hit it off, and not before too long, they are dating. Now, Rochelle is a very attractive blonde. She's really outgoing, she's funny, and they begin to really enjoy each other's company very quickly. Dr. Joseph, within weeks of meeting Rochelle in that ballroom dance class, is introducing her to his family. He's taking her on trips to other parts of America to meet with other family members. She is head over heels in love with Dr. Joseph. She's going on Facebook proclaiming that she loves this man and that they are just the happiest couple that could ever be in the world. He's taking her to Paris, to Italy, and everyone who meets the two of them together will just say, they just look like the picture of love. They just look so happy. And all the family members who ever meet Rochelle, they only ever have the nicest things to say. They just say she was the loveliest person. She was just the nicest person you could meet. Now there's one family member who's a little less convinced by this, and that's son Dallas. He's got something interesting to say. He says, yeah, while his dad was really into Rochelle, he just wasn't desperate to commit to her. He wasn't really desperate to commit to an engagement or to marriage. He was quite happy that the two of them dated, but still lived their own lives outside of that. Don't know that that's how Rochelle saw the situation. She saw it quite differently. I think Rochelle was in fact looking for a committed relationship. She was looking for a proposal from the doctor. She was looking for them to share their life together, spend their time together. And I just don't think that he really felt the same way. They'd been dating for about 10 months, still living separately but very much involved in each other's lives. I suppose we need to remember, actually, they've both been married before, so they're taking it slow. There's no rush at this point. They're not 18, 19 jumping into their first marriage. They're, they've lived their lives so far, and actually maybe it's okay that they just, slow it down. But really not for Rochelle. She wanted it to happen quicker. Now, Rochelle, before meeting Dr. Joseph, she had dated a few different men. She'd had a few relationships here and there, some long-term, some short-term, some companionship, and some just sex. I am not judging that in any way. You do you. Do what you need to do. But one of those relationships that she did have was with another doctor, interestingly, called Dr. Dixon. And Dr. Dixon was a plastic surgeon. He's one of these, oh God, I tried so hard to find an advert and I couldn't bloody find it, and it was driving me insane. But he was one of these shiny TV plastic surgeons that's like, hi, do you need surgery? Well, you need to come to Dr. Dixon's clinic. So that was a terrible accent, but you get the point. It's one of those, like, he had TV adverts for his cosmetic surgery business. And this was who Rochelle had dated way before she met Dr. Joseph. Like, way before that. Just, this was one of the men in her past. However, it gets a little bit tricky here because Dr. Dixon, as in, hi, do you need plastic surgery? He was married at the time when he met Rochelle, and he fell madly in love with her. Now, at the time, Rochelle was just quite happy for this to just be a fling, but Dr. Dixon was insistent that he loved Rochelle and he wanted them to be together. Rochelle was like, look, calm down, mate, chill out, take a step back. I was only in this for a fling. You've got yourself a wee bit overexcited here. And Dr. Dixon actually, he leaves the marriage that he's in, believing that him and Rochelle are going to be this couple. And she's like, whoa, hang on. I never said we were ever going to be this couple. I didn't ask you to leave your wife. I didn't ask you to do all of this for me. I'm not really that interested. So she leaves and she never really speaks to Dr. Dixon again. So that's ancient history. That's in her past. She doesn't need to think about that anymore because here she is now. She's dating Dr. Joseph, and it's been 10 months and it's all going well. It's going really well for Rochelle and Dr. Joseph. Or is it? During their 10 months together, Rochelle and Dr. Joseph had run into quite a few problems in their relationship. And the problems stemmed from ex-girlfriends of Dr. Joseph who just couldn't let go. One of these was a dance teacher with whom he'd had a very brief affair. They had met online, but she didn't want to move on when he decided it was finished. Another one was a nurse at the hospital where he worked, who he had had a fling with, and she would try to constantly contact Dr. Joseph and harass him because she wanted to continue the relationship. Rochelle discovers that during the 10 months that they've been together, Dr. Joseph has been quite the player. He has been seeing plenty of other people. And at first it really takes Rochelle by surprise. She would be like in a supermarket and out of nowhere a woman would come running up to her, screaming in her face, and she'd have no idea what it was about. And it was all because these women who had affairs or had relations with Dr. Joseph just could never seem to not want to go back to him. I mean, I said earlier on, he was a Lothario. He was a mad shagger. That's what he was. He was having sex all over the place. He was loving it. And he's in this relationship with Rochelle. And, you know, a lot of these women that he's had sex with before, they're coming to him with a grudge because they want more from him. And I think, I'm not going to paint him as a saint in this situation. I think if you've got that many women coming and saying, I want more, I want more, I want more, to the point where actually they've got a slight grudge against them, it says to me, maybe a wee bit manipulative in how he's handled these relationships. Why are you so obsessed with him? Why are you so... You know, they say, oh, he was an amazing lover. He was just the most incredible man in the world. I mean, I don't want to turn this into the the Big Ding Dong podcast, but because I'm aware I've used that phrase already this week. But I'm assuming that Dr. Joseph was a good lover and had a lot to offer to the people that he was sleeping with. So this is all going on for, you know, Rochelle and Dr. Joseph, and he's saying, look, they're all in the past. They're all these women, they're all things of the past. That you're who I'm with now. Don't worry about it. It's also around about the time where they start to go out for dinner or walks or just go for a day shopping, and they start to think that they might be being followed. They start to think they're being watched. Creepy. Don't know what I'd do if I thought I was being watched. Don't think I could just sit there and just be like, okay, I'm being followed. I think I'd need to walk up to people and be like, excuse me, are you watching me? Are you following me? I don't know. That's maybe not the best approach. That's maybe the kind of thing that gets you sectioned. I'm not sure. Out of nowhere, Dr. Joseph starts receiving letters from a woman claiming to be his mistress. She's claiming that she's been his mistress for over a year and that he's been paying for sex. So he shows Rochelle these letters and he says these are utter nonsense. They are bullshit. They're absolute rubbish. And she tries to just take these interruptions in their relationship, the other women, the letters, in her stride. She tries to just carry on with the relationship. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in the position where you start seeing someone and then an angry ex pops up. Oh, it's no fun. It's no laugh for anyone involved. So I feel for Rochelle in this situation because nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe you've been that crazy ex. Alright, before we continue, let's just do a little check on where are we at, who are we dealing with, and what do we need to know. In a nutshell, we have Dr. Joseph. We know he is a ladies' man. We have his girlfriend Rochelle of 10 months. We have Rochelle's ex-boyfriend, the plastic surgeon, Dr. Dixon. And we have a multitude of ex-girlfriends of Dr. Joseph's. Now I'm getting us all up to speed because we're all going to need to know the whole picture before we know what happens next.
And 911, what's the emergency?
I need somebody at 4603 21st. There's a bullet. The door's been broken into. It's a house that I work at.
Okay. You said a door is broken, or you said something about a bullet?
Somebody has broken a window in the back, and the doctor did not show up for work today. There was a bullet that was laying on the ground.
Okay, was it an actual bullet, or had it already been fired?
I don't know. I didn't pick it up. Somebody else went in and walked in. I'm not here. I'm not going in.
Okay, is there somebody there with you?
Yeah.
Okay, where are they inside the house?
They just walked in the broken area in the back.
And you said this is a house that you work at?
I do landscaping here. And we just walked in the back to see if we could find the doctor and saw that somebody had broken in the back. They've broken the whole window out.
Okay, now you said that
Yeah, I need somebody to hurry.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to get them over. Somebody else is going to dispatch them while I get this information for me, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And did you see any kind of, struggle or anything like that? You just found that bullet?
I haven't seen anything. I've just seen the bullet, and a guy that is here with me went in the house to see if he could find the doctor.
Okay. Now, you said that bullet, had it been fired or no?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is it an empty shell, or can you see it right now, or no?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is it an empty shell? Is he here? You can tell there's something. It's not good.
All right, the person that's with you, or
Oh, no! Oh, God.
Ma'am, what's going on?
It's him. I don't know.
Ma'am, what's going on?
I can't go in. I can't go in.
You see what?
I can't go in.
That's okay. You don't need to go into the house, okay?
Oh no, he's not okay.
Ma'am, what do you see?
He went in looking good. They just need to hurry.
What do you see? What is going on, ma'am?
What you just heard was the 911 call placed by Dr. Joseph's landscape gardener on July 11th, 2012, when the gardener looked through the windows of the house into the garage and saw the dead body of Dr. Joseph. Dr. Joseph had been shot 5 times and then stabbed a further 11 in his vital organs. When crime scene investigators and detectives looked at the scene and at Dr. Joseph's body and the position that he'd been found in, they examined the rest of the house for blood and they came to this conclusion. Dr. Joseph had been shot twice in the back, but had survived both shots. He'd managed to run from his killer and was shot one more time. Detectives determined it was this shot that brought him to the ground. It was then that his killer got a knife and began to stab Dr. Joseph's body. The stab wounds, they were clumsy. The stab wounds were all aiming for major organs. Detectives determined that Dr. Joseph once more unbelievably managed to get himself up from this, get to his feet, and run towards the garage, thinking that this is going to be his way out of the house. And it's at this point that 2 final shots were fired into his body, leaving him there to die in a pool of his own blood. Okay, so police immediately ask, what has happened here? Is this a burglary gone wrong? Is this a crime of passion? They're asking who would want to kill this charming and lovely doctor. Now everyone in Dr. Joseph's life becomes a suspect. The first person they go to is Rochelle. They bring her to the police station and they start to ask her, what do you know? What can you tell us? And she says nothing. She's in absolute shock that he's dead. She says we've been dating for 10 months and yeah, it's not always been easy, but we were making it through that. She's utterly just as shocked as everyone else that he's dead. They say to her, okay, tell us about the last time that you saw him. And she says, well, the night that he was killed was the last time I saw him. We'd gone to a ballroom dancing class. We left each other in the parking lot. We said goodnight. We went home. We went our separate ways. And we made plans to meet up in the next few days. At the police station, 2 police officers, they begin to talk Rochelle through some of the things that they found on Dr. Joseph's phone and on his computer. And they say, do you know that he's been having sex with many, many women recently? And she says, well, that can't be true because we've been together 10 months. I know there was lots of ex-girlfriends, but are you telling me that now, in the 10 months we've been together, he's been sleeping with other people? And police say, yeah, it's right here. 3 weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago, before this happened tonight, he was meeting a woman for sex. And it's all here. It's on his computer. The emails, it's all there. They show her the online dating sites that he's been on. They show her the messages between him and other women, and she's hysterical. She doesn't want to see this. She doesn't really need to see this. Now, what police are angling at here, they're angling at, actually, you knew this was happening. You knew this was going on, didn't you? Didn't you, Rochelle? And she says, no, I absolutely had no idea this was happening. And they say, shut up. That's lies. You knew this was happening, and that's why he's dead, isn't it? Isn't it, Rochelle? And she pleads her innocence, and she says, no, I loved him. I loved this man. I loved him, and I'm not responsible for his death. And they say, okay, if that's the case, who is? Start talking. Who do we need to be talking to, Rochelle? Who should we be interested in at this point? And she starts saying, well, I don't know, like, he didn't have any enemies, and I don't know anyone who would want to kill him. I'm not sure. And they're like, no, Rochelle, go back. There's going to be, let's just talk through everyone that you might have ever known in common. Who did you know? Let's explore every opportunity here for something, for a person. Who can it be? She's struggling to come up with any answers. All that she can say is he had ex-girlfriends who were obsessed with him. And police say, okay, that's fine. We can look into all of those ex-girlfriends. We can track them all down, but we have this question for you. Did you do it? And she says, no, of course I didn't. They say, we think it's possible. You knew he was sleeping with other women, and you just had enough. She says, no, I was looking to build a future with him. And the exes in his life, they were an annoyance and nothing more. Police say, okay. They say, until we are through completely investigating you, there is still some reason for us to believe that you are connected to this crime. So Rochelle leaves the police station. Police not able to actually pin down anything on her, but she remains a suspect. So during that sort of conversation with police, Rochelle had just thrown out like hundreds of names, like everyone that she knew or that they knew in common, or her ex-partners, and do you remember that I mentioned earlier on? Rochelle had previously dated a plastic surgeon called Dr. Dixon. So during her chat, she'd said to police that they had a relationship, her and Dr. Dixon. He was head over heels in love with her and had left his wife, but that she didn't really want that level of commitment, and so she left. And police asked her at the point, do you think that Dr. Dixon ever got over the fact that you left him? And she says, well, no, probably not. And police ask, did he know that you had gone on to date Dr. Joseph? She says, yes, I think so. Police say, how did Mr. Dixon feel about that? Rochelle says, I have no idea because I haven't spoken to him in years, but I would imagine he was furious. Police ask, is he someone that we should be looking at in connection to this death? And Michelle says, absolutely. So for police, this is just one name in a whole list of names that they've got to check through. They've got to, tick everyone off the list and go, is it possibly you that was involved in this or responsible or not? So Dr. Dixon's just one of those. So anyway, they do a routine visit to his house. They knock on his door. They ask, can they speak to Dr. Mike Dixon? And he's really surprised and shocked. And he comes to the door and he says, yeah, well, what is this all about? And they say, well, it's in relation to the death of Dr. Joseph. He was shot 5 times and then stabbed a further 11 times. Do you know anything about this? And he says, no, this is the first I'm hearing of this. And police say, okay, that's fine, but do you know who Dr. Joseph was dating? And he says, look, I don't know who Dr. Joseph is, so why would I know who he was dating? Police say, well, we find that a bit hard to believe, because he was dating the woman that you have been madly in love with for the last 4 years, Rochelle. He then backtracks slightly and says, oh no, yes, hang on. I did know that she was dating a doctor. I just didn't know who he was, but I knew that she was dating a doctor. So police ask, would you have any reason to want to get rid of Dr. Joseph? And he says, absolutely no way. Police say, well, that's interesting, because, and I love this, I love it during a police interview or something, when police have something in their back pocket and then they just pull it out at the last moment, like, yeah, whatever, we're going to lead you down this path and then we're just going to pull something out. Police say, that's interesting, because Rochelle tells us that actually you, weeks ago, came to her and said, I know you're dating Dr. Joseph, but how about we have an affair on the side of that? You can continue to see both doctors. And he says, well, oh yeah, actually, yeah, sorry, oh god, starts again. I actually did know that I had said that once to her, and doing a lot of this. Yeah, well, I wasn't really serious about it. I wasn't serious saying that. Police are like, yeah, sure. He starts saying really passionately, I loved that woman. I loved that woman. I would have done anything for her. That woman. And he says, I know she didn't want to be with me. She wanted to be with the other doctor. And I'm fine with that. I loved that woman. So police ask, well, do you know where Dr. Joseph lives? He says, no, I have no idea. Police say, well, there's been a few times where Rochelle and Dr. Joseph were in their garden, and there's been camera lights flashing, taking pictures of them at night. Do you know anything about that? He says, no, absolutely no. No, I don't know anything about it at all. Police ask, where were you when this murder happened? Now, Dr. Dixon is able to give them an alibi, and when they check it out, it's completely true. So, having thought that they had found the killer, police have to rest the case. They have to just let it rest, because his alibi is solid. They're satisfied that they've been through everybody who could possibly know Dr. Joseph, and they just can't find who was it. As I'm twiddling my Poirot style moustache or typing on my typewriter like Jessica Fletcher, I'm asking myself, who did kill Dr. Joseph? I mean, police are lost at this point. They are, and they admit that they're lost. They actually, I mean, it's not often you get this from police, but they actually come out and admit, they're like, we don't know. We've followed up every lead that we possibly can, and we're no further forward in finding who the perpetrator is. It must be so fucking frustrating as a detective when you've invested your time and you get to that point, you've exhausted everything, and you go, I know it's there somewhere. I know the answer is really close. but you just can't get to it. And you're just, you suck up all that shit. Oh, it was a burglary. Oh, it was this. But you're actually deep in your heart, you're like, no, something has fucking happened here. A murder has actually taken place, and I want to be the one to find this out. I just don't think this is why I don't think I could be a detective. I think it would just do my head in. I don't think I would ever sleep. I think I would be up day and night pacing around. And I know this is why great detectives burn out in their job, because they become so obsessed. I think it's the way I would become. I'd be like, I need to find the answers now. So, case comes to an absolute standstill. Stopped. It's close to becoming a cold case. And then there is about to be a phone call to the detective in charge of the investigation, which is going to change everything. A man not known to police, who lives 20 miles away from where this crime happened, calls police and he says, "Hi. Listen, I've seen the TV reports about the murder of Dr. Joseph." Oh, hang on, he's from Texas. Wait there. Oh, hi there. I'm not even going to do that because it's terrible. He says, "I've seen these reports." And police ask, "Yeah, what of it?" And he says, "I share my flat with a man who I don't know very well. We're just roommates. But my flatmate's been telling me for the past 3 days that he killed a doctor. He says this guy takes drugs, so I thought at first he was just talking shit. But he said it so many times now, I'm getting freaked out. I don't know this guy too well, and I don't know what to do, so I thought I would call." Police asked for the address and the name of the roommate. Police act fast, and before too long, they bring in Dave Shepherd. So, Dave Shepherd. He's the man who's been bragging that he killed a doctor. Police go through his phone, and one of the very first images that they find is a photograph of the outside of Dr. Joseph's house. And you can do that weird thing, like, it's not weird, but the thing you can do with a photograph on your iPhone or whatever, you can actually locate it to like the time and where exactly you were when that photograph was taken. The photograph on his phone, on Dave Shepherd's phone, was 10 minutes before Dr. Joseph was killed. And in the photograph you can actually see Dave Shepherd. You can see his reflection. He's taken a photograph of the house, but I think he doesn't really realise he's being reflected in one of the windows. Alright, Davey boy. Maybe need to work out how mirrors work, mate. Maybe need to work out how reflections work. So at first, Dave Shepherd, he won't talk to police. He won't tell them anything. He's absolutely, "No, I have nothing to do with this. I absolutely do not know what you are talking about." Police say to him, "Well, look, here's the thing. Your flatmate phoned us and said that you've been boasting that you killed a doctor." Silence. He just says nothing. Police say, "Right, look, here's the thing. We have DNA to match you to this crime. So start talking." And Dave Shepherd says, I don't know how I can possibly have become mixed up in this at all. I don't know. It's all a mistake." So, much like they did with Rochelle, they start going through a list of people. "Do you know so-and-so? No. Do you know this person? No. Do you know this one? No. Do you know Dr. Dixon? And he hesitates. He pauses and he says, yes, I do. So police ask, okay, how do you know Dr. Dixon? He says, well, we met about a year ago in a bar. We were both sitting on our own in a bar and we got talking. And police ask, well, what did you talk about? Dave Shepherd says, well, we talked about the fact that he was no longer married and that he had left his wife for a woman called Rochelle, but that she had left him and started dating Dr. Joseph. And so he says that Dr. Dixon went on and on about needing that woman, Dr. Joseph, out of the picture. And so these two men sitting in a bar, they start to hatch a plan. They decide they're going to start a campaign against Dr. Joseph. I loved that woman. So do you remember I said earlier on, Rochelle and Dr. Joseph sometimes felt like they were being followed? Well, they were. They were being followed by Dave Shepherd, paid by Dr. Dixon. Those letters that Dr. Joseph and Rochelle were receiving from the supposed paid mistress, all fabricated, all written by Dave Shepherd and paid for by Dr. Dixon. So these two men are sitting in a bar, and Dr. Dixon decides it's not enough. He just wants rid of Dr. Joseph, the sex bomb. He wants him gone. He decides, no, I've had enough of this man. And the only way that Rochelle will ever come back to me is if her current boyfriend is dead. I mean, if that's your logic at any point, you've got to be checking yourself into some kind of facility at that point. If that's honestly your reasoning in life, then you need help. You need help at this point, if that's how you think things in the world work. So they decide at first, Dr. Dixon and Dave, his sidekick, they decide that what they might do is they might try and kill Dr. Joseph, but do it in an embarrassing way. They might try and kill him and make it look like some auto-asphyxiation death. They think, let's make it look like he's hung himself while he's been masturbating, or he's died in a sex game in his house. Dr. Dixon pays Dave Shepherd and says, whatever happens, I just want the murder done. I just want him dead. I just want him gone. And so Dave Shepherd begins to, in front of police, explain the murder. He explains that he goes up to the house and he's looking in through one of the windows. Dr. Joseph is inside and he becomes aware that someone is looking in. So he wanders over to the window and he opens the window to ask, who is this fucking stranger standing on his property? At which point Dave Shepherd raises a gun and shoots the doctor. He says that Dr. Joseph then ran through the property, and it's at that point that he smashed through the window and begins to hunt down the doctor in his very own house. When he saw the doctor ahead of him, he starts to fire more shots, a couple of which hit him. He says the doctor then vanished. Dave Shepherd can't see his intended victim at this point. So Dr. Joseph had run into the garage of his house, hoping that he could lock the door, try and get away from the man trying to kill him. But Dave Shepherd caught up with him, and seeing that Dr. Joseph wasn't dead, he then stabbed him 11 times. This was brief. This was no more than a 5-minute murder. The entire time this is happening, Dr. Dixon is texting Dave Shepherd asking, is he dead? Is he dead? Tell me if the deed is done. So right after this confession from Dave, the hitman, police go straight to Dr. Dixon's house and they arrest him in the middle of the night and they bring him to the police station. Now he pleads complete ignorance to any of this. He says, I don't know what you are talking about. I have absolutely no involvement in this whatsoever. Don't know anything about this. Police are they're not nice to Dr. Dixon. They're not taking any shit. They're not taking any bullshit from him. They say, look, don't dick us about. We have a hitman. He's told us the whole story. He's confessed to everything. So now you start talking. Start talking now. But fucking Dr. Dixon, he continues to profess, I know nothing about this. I have no clue what you could be talking about. Police are like, right, hang on. Mate, right, you went out with Rochelle. You loved her so much that you left your wife for her. You loved her, you were obsessed with her. And she decided she didn't really want that relationship. And you're telling me that now her new boyfriend is dead and you got no connection to it. And he continues to say, yeah, I don't know anything about it. So the whole story is unfolding in the media and in the news. And everyone is aware that this hitman has come forward and said, yes, I was paid to kill him by Dr. Dixon. But Dr. Dixon is still maintaining, no, I have no involvement in this. Now the case is brought to court quickly because it's very high profile, very big, and it's only a week-long trial where Dave Shepherd, the hitman, actually stands up in court and says, yes, I accepted payment to kill him, paid by that man, pointing at Dr. Dixon and saying, that man paid me to kill Dr. Joseph. There is no real defence here, so the jury rests. And what did the jury come back with? They come back as a hung jury. Ugh. A jury who are just not able to decide, did he actually commit this or not? Fuck's sake. Friends, family, everyone is outraged at this point. The fact that Dr. Dixon has been found neither guilty nor not guilty in this crime is so ridiculous. Two weeks after the hung jury, a new trial begins. And after the first jury's inability to arrive at a decision, the second jury are much better and they find Dr. Dixon guilty of the murder of Dr. Joseph. He is sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole. Dave Shepherd, the man responsible for carrying out the crime, was also found guilty and sentenced to life. What of Rochelle in all of this? What did she think or feel when she learned that the reason her current boyfriend was dead was because her ex-boyfriend had hired a hitman to kill him? Well, she felt shocked, she felt betrayed, and she says this.
There are real sociopaths and psychopaths that walk amongst us. They're charming. They sit at the dinner table with you and your children, and sometimes they sleep in your bed with you. I'll always love him, and I would just tell him how sorry I am.
I loved that woman. And so ends the story. Well, I think we've all learned a very important lesson. Don't get yourself involved with rich doctors. Don't do it. As much as the temptation might be there, don't do it. It's just going to end in tears. I'm kidding on. But yeah, okay. I feel for Dr. Joseph in this because, yeah, he was a player. Yeah, he might not have, might not have been the best in his attitudes towards relationships and sex. He didn't deserve that death. He didn't. He just didn't deserve that death. So, yeah, and I feel bad for Rochelle in this situation as well because I think she's forever going to know that she was the person that made that death happen. And it's not her fault, and it's not his fault. It's not even really the crazy ex-boyfriend's fault. It's not even really his fault. He just was clearly obsessed, like too obsessed. It's his fault that to this day he's still, oh for fuck's sake man, get over it. He's in prison, still saying, well, I'm not guilty. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, like, that's your fault, right? At that point, that's your fault. Shut up. So maybe, there is a mental health issue with him as well, but also just own up to it. Just say, yeah, fucking, you're spending your life in prison for it. You'd be as well just saying, yeah, actually, I did do it. That's, if we've learned anything from people who get parole or don't get parole, what we've learned is actually the minute you can go, actually, I did this crime, and this is how I feel about what I did, then your chances of rehabilitation, your chances of parole are way better than just going, no, I'm still not involved. Well, you wouldn't be in prison, mate, if you weren't involved. Anyway, right, so that's that. That's that story for you. If you would like to get in touch with me, where can you do it? Well, you can do it through Facebook. You can join the Facebook group. I'm always ready for a chat. If you wanted to go the Twitter route, you can. You'll find me on Twitter, Extra Stories Pod. I'm there. I'm hanging about. Instagram, I'm on there as well. Get me. I'm on all the fucking socials. If you wanted to email me, extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Until midweek, thanks for listening. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on. Let's do it. Let's get it over.